Hello, hello, amazing business owners, creatives, and artists. Welcome to another episode of Business Straight Up, the small business podcast for business help when it comes to running a creative business. I am so thrilled to have you here today. We have an amazing guest. She is a stellar businesswoman with a boudoir studio in the East Coast in Pennsylvania. And she is joining us today to speak about email automation. Her name is Jenn Smith. And we're going to talk about all things having to do with email. So as you know, I teach email marketing. I believe in it so strongly. And email marketing and email automation can be kind of grouped together, but they're not always the same thing. Sometimes the automations are going to booked clients, and sometimes they're going to people that may not have necessarily booked with you yet. And it's important to know the difference and have these things segmented. So we are going to go into email automations, what to include, how to set them up, and why the heck to use them. And I thought I had a lot of email automations, but Jenn just kills it when it comes to this. And she has completely just overtaken the world with her email. Marketing strategy is another thing that we're going to go over and how it applies when it comes to pricing and sales, and why it's not a bad thing to talk about your business and the money and the importance of marketing and being successful and being profitable in running a business. So I can't wait for you to hear this. If you have not submitted a review on iTunes, I'm going to call you out and say, why the heck not? I would so appreciate it if you would head on over to iTunes. You can pause it right now, leave a review, because it helps us to get amazing guests. Plus, it gives us some feedback so that we know what you want to learn. If you tell me, I love your podcast, this is something that I really struggle with, I will do my best to address that specifically to help you out. So chances are, if you have a question, someone else has that same question. So if you don't want to do it for yourself, think of helping someone else. Head on over to iTunes, leave a review, and let's jump in to my interview with Jenn Smith. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Welcome back, amazing listeners. I am so excited for today's guest, and it just worked out like perfectly that we could record today, because we've been trying to connect for months, and then our calendars, it's like the stars aligned. So today I am so thrilled to welcome Jenn Smith from Boudoir by Jennifer Smith, a kick-ass boudoir studio on the East Coast. And she also runs a killer Facebook group for photographers where she helps them with in-person sales, business, and marketing. And I'm so excited to have her on the show today. Thank you so much for being here, Jenn.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited we were able to connect.
I know. It was crazy that it just lined up perfectly. So tell me more about you. What is your story and what brought you to where you're at right now?
Sure. So I have been in business for about 9 years. I shot family, maternity, and newborn for 5 or 6 years. And I've been full-time with Boudoir. This will be my 4th year. And it's been wonderful. And, every year since I went full time with Boudoir, my revenue has doubled. So last year I ended with 525,000 revenue. And this year, I don't think I'll double it this year. But 2020, my goal is to open a second studio. And then of course I'll be able to scale then.
Well, and can I just say, like, side note before you continue with your story, that you just had a baby. So you saying like, I don't think I'll be able to double it. Girl, you are kicking ass anyway. And 2, the fact that you're willing to share these numbers, because so many people like hide behind money, right, and we don't talk about it. And it's part of business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing that boggles my mind about the photography industry is it's such a taboo subject to talk about money. But, that's really the most important thing because we're running a business, guys. Like you have to know what your money in and money out is. And I do want to preface that by saying that that revenue I just talked about, that was from shooting. I'm a working photographer. So that was not including any income from mentoring that I have done.
Yes. And does that question drive you crazy? It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's a valid question, and and I don't mind answering it all. I'm answering it at all. I'm very transparent with, you know, how I run my business, but I know because there was a time when I hired mentors, um, that it was important to me to know that the person I was hiring was successful. Because why would you want to listen to someone that isn't being successful?
Right? It's so important to look at someone that is where you want to be
Yes,
and to
I
figure
agree.
out what they are doing that you can incorporate into your own life and in your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
That is amazing. So, what if you had to say this one thing brought me to the revenue level that I'm currently at? What would that one thing be?
I would say hard work. I would say working my tail off. And, that's what it is. It is about hustle all day, every day. I'm not even kidding when I say that I was responding to email inquiries while I was in labor. My husband took my phone away. And that's what it takes. Like I shot full time until I was 38 weeks. So you just have to work. And it doesn't come easy. And you definitely have to be a little bit of a self starter because if you're waiting for someone to tell you what to do or waiting for someone to say, you need to go do this, you need to book a shoot, you're going to struggle. And no mentor that you hire is going to be able to fix that for you.
Amen. It's like waiting for a permission slip, right?
Right.
That you're
Exactly.
never going to get.
Right. Exactly. And I think a lot of people are so used to having a day job where they're told what to do.
Yes.
And then when they make the jump to full time, they are lost because they no longer have someone delegating jobs to them. They have to delegate the jobs for themselves. And they really struggle with that.
Yes. And so many people look at someone else's story and assume that they're like an overnight sensation when really
Right.
someone's probably been working their butt off for at least 5 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, what is it that most small businesses fail within the first 5 years of business?
Oh my
And
gosh, yes.
it's true. You have to push through that. And, I shot for at least 4 or 5 years in the family world. And, my revenue it wasn't bad. It was like 50, maybe a year. It's not bad. But once I started shooting boudoir, I really found my niche and I found my calling and I, was able to just continue to build off of that.
Yes. And knowing what you love and doing what you love and choosing to do only that sounds so scary for someone just starting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, it is scary to make the jump to full time. But what I tell new photographers and photographers I mentor is you keep working the day job until you're losing money by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know it's time to jump.
Yes, that makes so much sense. So many people have different ways to look at how to jump. And I think that one might be one of my favorites because
Mm.
it makes so much sense. By the time you figure out that you're losing money going to work every day, then it's time to leave.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it got to the point where I no longer could fit shoots in on the weekends or, kind of fake my way through my day job while I was shooting during the day. And it got to the point where I had to do it because I was turning down shoots and I was making so much more money. Last year my sales average was 3,100. This year, so far year to date, it's 3,600. So I was losing exorbitant amounts of money by not
Yes.
shooting.
Yes. And I just want to point out to all of the listeners too that she's talking about her average sale per client. And I really want to kind of call attention to that because so many people tell me that it can't be done. So many people tell me that no one will pay that. No one will invest that kind of money. And I am 100% against that statement because people do.
They do. And, people have money for what they want to have money for. So I've
Yes.
had clients that pull into my driveway and then they pay me more than the car that like their car is worth less money than what they're paying me to shoot them. And, it's all about the value, guys. It's all about, people have money for what they want to have money for. And you can't ever assume the value that they will have for your work.
Yes. So true. I have had like waitresses spend thousands of dollars.
Right?
And it's none of my damn business where that money comes
Exactly.
from.
Absolutely. Or how they pay for it, or
Right?
if they're using it's none of your business. What matters is that they value you.
Yes. So. And the experience that you have to offer, which is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I love, love, love this. I know that you teach several different subjects, and really we could do like a million episodes
right.
with all of your awesome knowledge. But today we're going to kind of focus on email automation, and I wanted to give our listeners an idea of what that looks like. And so let's start talking about the difference between email automation and email marketing, because I teach email marketing, and so often these two things are kind of grouped together.
Right. So my email automation, I use email. I actually use MailChimp. There's lots of different platforms out there, and there are benefits to using some over others, but MailChimp is very simple, and it's an easy way to dip your toes into automation. And I use a lot of relationship building with my automation. So currently my email automation is about 40 emails, and we're Humberto and Garcia and I have partnered, and we're offering a mastermind class. It's basically my business in a box, and you get all the tools and all the forms and all the emails. And so, basically it's about relationship building when I do my automation, because I don't run sales. I do a flash sale twice a year, and I might book 40 sessions from that flash sale. But the reason the relationship building is so important is whenever I do run the sale, people jump on it because they already know that I don't run sales, A, and that B, they know me and they trust me, and I do consistent and solid work. So building that relationship is important.
Yes, so many times people don't want to incorporate email marketing because they think of it as salesy, but the reality is that people buy from someone that they know, like, and trust.
Absolutely.
And especially when it comes to certain genres of photography or creation, like other creative entrepreneurs,
right.
Sometimes there needs to be a higher comfort level.
Right. Absolutely. That makes sense.
Huge. I know that you grow and cultivate an email list, which is so crazy important. And bridal expos have been huge for you. I love to do them as well. They are such a great way to grow your list.
Right.
But do you do all of your email automation like for just clients, or do you have automation for people who have subscribed but not necessarily booked with you?
Yeah, so I have several different lists. The first two are automations through MailChimp, and then I have 3 through automations in Dubsado, which is my CRM, client relationship management software. And if you don't have a CRM, then you need to have one because it's crucial. It is crucial. And there's lots out there to choose from. I've been using Dubsado. I love it. They have great customer service, and I'm comfortable with them. So MailChimp, I have 2 automations. One is focused towards brides. The second is focused towards clients that have signed up through my website, through my Facebook group, through various other forms, but aren't necessarily brides. So the automations converge at one point. There's some very bridal specific emails in the automation to brides. And then it just starts to get more general as it goes down through because, brides will then be wives and then they'll be mothers. And so the great thing about going to bridal shows is you're getting them in the beginning of their milestones. And when you think about milestone photography, when do people hire us as boudoir photographers? A lot of times they hire us for milestones before they get married, their first anniversary, before they have children, after they have children. So if you jump in and you form a relationship with them at the beginning of those milestones, then you can potentially follow them for many more years after.
Yes, so true. And bridal shows, one thing that I really, really love with the bridal shows is I don't just talk to brides.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because a woman will walk up to me curious and watching the slideshow because I have a TV for a
Right.
slideshow. And they'll be curious and they'll be watching. And she'll go, I say, do you want to sign up to see if you win a free session? She'll go, oh, no, I'm not a bride. I said, I don't care.
Right.
Still matter. Like,
Right. Yeah. And whenever we are at bridal shows, I only do bridal shows where we get the email list. So that's registered brides. So whenever we are marketing at bridal shows, we approach everybody that isn't a bride. Of course, we talk to brides, but we try and get email addresses from aunts and mothers and best friends and bridesmaids, because those are the people who are not going to be on the email list that comes with the show. So it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Bridal shows are such a no-brainer. When you do them right, they're such a no-brainer.
Absolutely. They are such an amazing tool. I personally have not done, have you ever done like women's expos or the larger expos?
No, I haven't, primarily because there aren't any close to me. I've thought about doing them, but I would have to go a little bit farther out, like to DC. And I'm based out of Delaware, but my main market is Philadelphia. So I would have to go out a little bit farther. There's a huge one in DC, and I've thought about it. And I know lots of girls, lots of photographers that do really well at women's shows.
Yes. I have not done any. They don't really have any here, so I totally feel you. It's kind of interesting to me though, because it is different that you don't get the email list and you're there for like 3 days, which sounds really long to me.
It is a long time. It's a long time.
That's interesting. So let's talk about, I feel like there's so many places where the automation is important. And in my course, we call it lead follow-up, but really it encompasses so much. So when someone contacts me, a lot of times they'll just stop responding. Like we get ghosted a lot. There used to not be a term for that.
But there is now.
There is now. And I do have a sequence of 6 emails that will automatically send through my CRM after someone contacts me that are automated. So what does your sequence look like? Do you have one set up for that lead or that inquiry?
I do. Yeah, I do. So, and what's funny? This is a little off topic, but I found that so many of us successful photographers implement a lot of the same things. We've never talked about it. Like I've never talked with you about this, but we do a lot of the same things. We've come to the same conclusions just by ourselves. I think it's so interesting that happens so often. But yes, I do have a automation that goes out. I call them my hot leads, and those are clients or potential clients that have contacted me with a contact form or reached out in some way. And my studio manager does all of the phone consults. So she enters them into Dubsado, and there's a nice, a note section where she can take notes about her conversation with them, any particulars, like if they're going on vacation, if they have children, personal things, so that if I would pick up later, I know exactly what to ask them about. Or if she would talk to them in like a year, she could be like, hey, so how was that trip to Japan that you took? And it just is another level of being relatable and having touch points with your clients. So after we do that initial phone consult, if they don't end up booking on the phone, which is of course our goal, if they don't end up booking on the phone, we start them in an automation for hot leads. And mine is 9 emails, and it goes out over the course of 2 months. And the first email is just checking in like the next day, like, hey, I just wanted to see if you had any questions. It was great talking to you. And then Nikki will add in some sort of personal touch. It was great talking to you about blah, 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 whatever their conversation was. And let me know if you have any questions. Or this is a good point for you to be like, hey, I had another client inquire about the date we were talking about. Do you want to snag that date first? If I don't hear back within 24 hours, I'll have to release it. So that's a good way to just add a sense of urgency to the communication as well. So we also send out several emails then, again, just relationship building then, like, hey, have you joined my VIP group? Have you followed me on Instagram? Do you know about my awesome referral program? A month later, I send out another email just saying like, hey, I know we talked before. I just wanted to see if you had any other questions. And it goes on like that for a while. And then 2 months out, I send out a last ditch email to try and grab them while I'm still somewhat fresh in their brains. And it's a flash sale. And it's not, when I do that large flash sale for $99 twice a year, that's the only time I do that. But in the automation for my hot leads, it's $199. And the reason I do that, again, is so whenever that $99 flash sale comes out, they're more likely to jump on it because they've already seen that I ran a flash sale to them and it was $199. So it's setting the bar. So it's making the $99 even more attractive.
Yes. And it's so funny that like you and I talk about these things because they're normal to us, but these are kind of basic business concepts too. Like that's called price anchoring.
Absolutely.
So when someone sees the higher price and then they see the lower, of course they're going to go for the lower price because they know what it's normally worth.
We could totally like nerd out over this for a while.
Yes.
Our business job.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like I'm cutting you off a lot because I'm just like, yes, girl, yes.
Well, I teach these things. I don't often use the terminology because I feel like when I'm teaching, as soon as you drop a marketing term or a business term, people are like zone out. But whenever you're telling them like why it works or how to make it work, they pay more attention. But literally everything, my background, my bachelor's degree is in business and marketing. My day job, I was a speech pathologist for 10 years practicing, and then I did a marketing job for 5 years. So this is my bread and butter, the marketing and business side. And it was so natural to make the jump and then just apply it to my business because it was what I know and what I've been doing.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to call attention to something that you had said as well about if I don't hear back from you in 24 hours, you're going to lose the date.
Right.
Because I feel like so many people are afraid to say that. Like they're going to lose the booking.
Right.
And realistically, if they're not booking you at that point, they're probably not going to book for a while anyway.
Exactly.
But setting the expectation, like I always give people a date and time. I need to hear back from you by this date at this time. Otherwise, it's gone.
Right. Absolutely. And, I also do that whenever people inquire through email and I'm setting up my phone consults. I always say, what is the best day and time to reach you tomorrow or Monday? I give them a time window because if you just say what's the best time and number to reach you, they're going to be like, oh, December 7th of 2019. And you're going to be like, huh? So you really have to nail them down, like let them have some freedom and some choice, but you have to give them some constraints so that it's working for you too.
Yes. It's kind of like the parenting thing, love and logic.
Yes.
Which sounds so silly, but you basically give someone two choices because more choices than that, they get overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
But if you don't give them any choices, then they can choose whatever they want.
That's so funny. Yep. We do that with our children.
Yes.
Two choices I want them to do. I know, right? I love it.
That's funny. Another piece of email automation are the emails and things to be sent to clients who have actually booked.
Right.
And I know that I have 4 emails that get sent to every client once their session is booked that have like a ton of prep information, lingerie guides, a reminder of the address and phone number to the studio. What does your pre-session email sequence look like?
Well, I am all over their inbox. I actually have a series of I think it's 30 emails that goes out.
Holy moly.
Yeah, there's a lot. And it's in very small chunks. So small information tidbits because a few reasons. I don't want to overwhelm them. Also, I want to stay very present in their inbox. It's, again, relationship building. I found that the more touch points you have with a client, the more they're going to value your service. And also because of that, I have literally a 0 no call, no show rate because if a client's going to cancel or want to reschedule, typically they will when I email them a month before and say, hey, your shoot's in a month. I'm really excited to see you. Do you have any questions? And typically at that month email, they'll start to be like, oh no, I have my shoot coming. I'm not prepared. And then they'll either reach out to me with concerns, which I can then address and save the booking, or they'll reach out to me and say, listen, I need to cancel or reschedule, and then I take care of it. So it literally leads to almost a 0 no call, no show rate. It happens. I'm going to knock on wood right now because I'm saying that I'm going to have one. But I mean, I really can't even remember the last time I had a no call, no show.
Yes, it's so true. And plus, even for people that deal with like anxiety
Right.
or something like that, they know that they don't have to get on the phone to talk to me,
Right.
which I feel like is kind of an odd thing to say. But when someone is that nervous or feeling insecure, sometimes just type in an email is so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're just more present. And, like you said earlier, the key to selling, people are more likely to buy from you if they like you. And when I'm in their inbox and all about them and asking them questions and keeping up with them, they like me more.
Yes.
So I'm more likely to have a higher sale because they like me.
Yes. And I just want to be specific on that too, because a lot of people have said, well, you're just using that. It's kind of manipulation. But the fact is that I really, truly do like my clients
Yeah,
and I really do want to talk to them about their
absolutely.
lives.
And I want them to have a good experience because, again, I'm running a business. I'm not doing
Yes.
this for charity. I'm doing this so that my family can have a better life. And and at the end of the day, yes, what we do is extremely important and I value my work and I love that I'm making a difference in people's lives, but I also want to make a living and be able to pay my bills. So, I'm very interested in my clients, but again, you have to keep the focus on running your business and making sure it's running effectively.
Absolutely. That is so important. And so many people, one of the things that I say the most is the cliche of the starving artist can suck it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see that go away. Why are we so scared of wanting to make a living?
Absolutely.
What is wrong with that? Who says that that's a bad thing?
Yeah, I mean, what we do, not everyone can do what we do and do it well. And it's a specialized skill set. So, you know, you need to bill for that appropriately. And if you can make more working at McDonald's or at Aeropostale in the mall, then you really need to go do that because you're wasting your time, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Art and the skill behind it is so important. And I wonder if it's our culture that just kind of ignores that, but it is so important.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Oh my gosh, I love talking email marketing. I'm such a geek, but
Me too. I could talk business for hours.
I know, right? It's so fascinating. Do you have a post session email sequence? Because we have
I do.
4 emails that go out after every session. And it kind of makes me chuckle every time I see someone say, well, I don't know how to get reviews. And I'm like, just ask.
Yeah, right. So I ask in my email automation that goes out after their shoot, but then I also ask when they're leaving their shoot and then also when they're leaving their ordering appointment. And something I really stress when I'm teaching is that when you've already spent time cultivating this relationship with your client and you've basically become friends with them. I mean, you've seen them naked. So you're friends. And when a
Yes.
friend asks you to do something, most of the time you do it. So if you've built that relationship and when they're leaving their shoot, most of the time clients will be like, oh my gosh, this was so awesome. You did such a good job, or thank you, or whatever. I'll take that opportunity to be like, oh, hey, if you get a minute, I would so appreciate it if you posted something in the group about your experience because, so many women are really nervous and it makes a big difference when they see that other women are doing it and they had a good time. And that's all I say.
Yes.
And like I said, when a friend asks you to do something, you do it most of the time. So that's the other reason why building a relationship, cultivating that relationship and having as many touch points with your client as possible is really beneficial.
That is huge. I actually do not do that just because I forget. But it's so important to do that. And we have very specific emails that go out talking about the reviews and why they're important. Also about like blog features and photos, stuff like that, that people fall behind on because they don't ask for it. And I don't understand why.
Right.
You're in business, you've worked with someone, you adore them, they adore you. Go for it.
Right. Absolutely. We also send out another email, like a post session questionnaire. So after their shoot, there's a series of 10 emails that I send out. And most of them are about the ordering appointment that's coming up, including that's the first time they've seen the full investment menu. So that goes out the day of their shoot. And then they also get multiple emails leading up to their ordering appointment, like one about wall art, one about I send out an email the day after their shoot that says, hey, I just wanted to let you know your images are absolutely stunning. I can't wait for you to see them. And that's it. It just gives them a little bit more reinforcement and builds the excitement a little bit more. And one of the most important emails that I send out in my client automation and also my ordering appointment automation is, hey, your appointment is, or your shoot is tomorrow, your ordering appointment is tomorrow. Just respond yes to this email so I know you're coming. It saves me so much time tracking people down. And that also reduces my no call, no show rate because people are getting a reminder. And if they don't respond yes, then I text them and I actually pretend like it's an automated text service.
That's amazing.
Yep. And then they respond and then about 2 months after their shoot, that automation continues and they get another email just saying, hey, it was really great. I came across some of your images. It was really great working with you. I just wanted to let you know that I would love to work with you again in the future. And by the way, I have this awesome referral plan. So again, I talk about the referral plan in that email as well.
That is amazing. I also include, do you get a lot of people responding to talk about their experience in that day after?
Most of the time clients will respond and say, I had such a good time. Thank you so much for emailing me. Another really important email I send out in that post-session automation is one that says, hey, I just had a client email me that they couldn't see the investment menu. I just wanted to make sure that you were able to see it. And that never happens. My link always works. But what it does is you're asking them for help. And again, if a friend asks you to do something, you always do it. Most of the time you do it. And almost all of my clients will respond, oh no, Jen, your link works fine. I'm good. And that ensures two things. The first is, again, another touch point. The second is that they've actually looked at the investment menu because the worst case scenario is them coming into their ordering appointment, not being prepared to spend.
Yes. That is brilliant. I might have to steal that one.
Feel free.
I love it.
Feel free.
So do you ever have, kind of switching gears from email, because I know that you talk about the psychology in pricing and not showing the full investment menu. Do you ever have someone that just pushes you for the full menu before booking?
I do. And that's a common objection. And we always take it back to the experience. And I will definitely talk about the investment, but I say, listen, you're not going to know what you want to buy until you see your images. It's kind of like buying a car you've never driven. The reason I use that analogy is cars are expensive and so am I. So,
yes.
I already want them to be associating me with an investment. And if they still keep pushing to see the investment menu, then I send it and I'm okay with them not booking because I know they probably won't. If they're that focused on the money, they're not going to appreciate the experience and they're probably not going to book me. And I'm okay with it. Yes. I would rather they don't book me than book me and not spend. And most of the time, because my collections are, the highest one is $8,000. So when they see an $8,000 collection, they usually don't book.
Yes. Well, and if they aren't prepared to spend that or invest that, then that's okay.
Absolutely.
It's cool. And so many people are afraid to lose that booking, but you have to be okay saying no to the people that aren't right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, if a client's on the fence, I talk about the fact that I take credit cards and I do payment plans and I do a 5% discount for any cash they bring. So there are choices. And my payment plans are very successful. I do them in-house. I very rarely have someone that just ghosts on their payment plan. And interestingly enough, one of there's been like maybe 5 people in the last 4 years that have ghosted. And one of them was in 2017. And just last week, she emailed me and was like, I would like to pay the remainder on my payment plan and get my book. And I was like, okay. I was like, there's also a $250 fee to remove them from archival. And she was like, okay. And she paid it. So,
oh man.
Yeah, it happens, but rarely. So,
yes. I just had a client from 2014 email me asking if she could complete her payment plan. I'm like, my price has changed, right? Like, that's a big time gap.
Right? Yeah, you just never know with people. Now, I do say that the images that they don't purchase are deleted. And do I actually delete them? No, because I'm a little bit of a hoarder with images. but
Yes.
they don't need to know that because, again, I am increasing the urgency for them to make a purchase the day of their ordering appointment. I do not want people walking away thinking they can come back next year and buy their images. That's not a choice.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure. I feel the same way. Have you ever had your clients give you any negative feedback about your email automation?
Only whenever there was one client recently and she had signed up for both lists for my MailChimp bridal show list for my then she signed up again through my website, and then she was getting emails from me through the automation from my clients, and she's like, Jen, I'm getting so many emails, I don't know what to do. And I was like, let me look. And she was literally in 3 of my automations. And I told her, I was like, I'm taking you off of these 2. You really shouldn't be on them anyway. So, yeah. So
So it was a mistake.
yeah, that's really the only time. Most of the time, I think they appreciate all the information, and they also appreciate it in smaller chunks because, people don't read. Like, they just don't. They might skim over stuff. People forget. So it's important to continue to repetition is key, like when you're teaching, and we are teaching people
Yes.
about the experience. So that repetition is really important.
Yes. Do you ever have any different automations for people who have already had a session with you? I always wonder about that because I have one client who's done like 5, and she goes, Brooke, I've seen these emails. I don't need them again.
No. So I don't have an email specifically for clients that have already shot, but the automation that goes out after their shoot does send out that like last email 2 months later. So yeah, that's really the only one. That should be on my to-do list though. I think that's probably a good idea. Just sending out, an email to them like every 6 months, maybe even like a planned email about some sort of wall art discount for past clients. Actually, that sounds really good. I might add that after we get off.
That does sound good. I know. I'm thinking about that now. I'm like, okay, making notes.
Right.
You'll hear a click of my pen.
Yeah, I need to do that. So yeah, I'm probably going to add that in. I think that's a good idea too.
Well, and one thing that I learned from Sal Sincata is he always ties things like that to the printing lab. So
Yep.
you could always just say, hey, my Canvas printer is having a special. It ends on this date. What?
Isn't Sal awesome? He's my favorite.
Oh my gosh, I love him. And so much of that information is so valuable and actionable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do the same thing. And I learned that from him as well. So yeah, that's a good email to add into that post-session automation.
Definitely. I'm like making notes. Do you feel like email marketing or email automation has cheapened or enhanced your brand, and why?
It's definitely enhanced. It's definitely, enhanced my brand. I don't think it's cheapened it because I focus on relationship building. I am not in people's inbox, like spamming them with specials. I'm sending out testimonials before and afters, like contests. When I run contests, I do like, in addition to the email automation that they get, when I run contests or gift card contests, I send out a separate automation about that, trying to pull people into my VIP group because it's all about being able to reach your client base in as many different ways as possible. So people in my VIP group, I'm always trying to move over to my email automation. People in my email automation, I'm always trying to move over into my VIP group. I'm trying to reach them in as many ways as possible.
Yes. And the experts say it usually takes about 7 times before someone will reach out to you to actually spend money with you.
Right. Absolutely. So those touch points are really important.
Definitely. I love that. I feel like it so enhances your brand. You have so many opportunities to talk with someone and just have a conversation.
Absolutely. And most of the time people will write back. And when I ask questions or send out, automation emails, and my studio manager also is in my inbox as well. So she just responds like me or like herself. But we try to respond to emails in less than 24 hours, all emails.
Mm-hmm. You're much better at that than I am.
I mean, I don't always do it, but I do try.
Yeah, some days, life just gets busy and crazy. So
yeah, and you just can't do it.
Right? Oh my gosh. Well, I know that you have another commitment coming up, but I just want to thank you so much. I do have one more question that is not really related, but kind of related.
Yeah, sure.
What is the best piece of advice when it comes to your business that you've ever received?
Oh, that's a really good question.
It's hard though. You think of all the things you've learned.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to have to defer to Sal Sincata. This is what the one piece of advice I learned from him is to be the trusted advisor for your clients.
Mhm.
And I use that, and it's very important that you remain the trusted advisor and not a salesperson, because by building that relationship, they're going to trust you more, and they're going to buy more because they trust you. And it's not a sales tactic. It's being genuine, you know?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. And I know that like you and we talked about maybe doing IPS today. We'll have to do that another time.
yeah, that'd be great.
But you're not going to sell someone a huge canvas if they don't have the house for it. Like you are the advisor and you are the person saying, maybe this would be a better fit.
Absolutely. And you always have to ask questions for your clients, because you can't sell to them if you don't know what they want. So advising is how you do that. You always have to ask questions to figure out how you can help them. And then it's easier to sell to them because you already know what they want. So it's much easier.
Definitely. Definitely. And what is a good fit for them? Like, have you ever heard that quote from Henry Ford that said, if I had just given people what they wanted, I would have given them a faster horse?
Ah, right, right. I love.
So like listening to what they want, but knowing what they need
Mm-hmm.
and figuring that out and being the advisor and not just someone who pushes a button on a camera.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's part of the experience. It's why you can command higher sales averages, because you're providing an experience. You're not just providing images. And, every now and then I have a client that, especially brides, because inevitably I'll have brides that spend more on me than their wedding photographer. And just the other day I had a bride that said to me, can you explain, like, I just hired my wedding photographer isn't nearly as much as what I'm going to spend with you. And can you just break that down for me? And I think a lot of us become defensive when people ask us this question, like we need to like rationalize our prices, but it's very simple, and I said, listen, like, you're not comparing apples to apples. You're comparing apples to oranges. It's two different things, two different products. I can guarantee your wedding pictures are not going to look like these. And that's it. You don't have to get defensive. And she's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
Because it does.
It is. It's so true. Oh my gosh. I love it. And I love, like, you're right. So many people do get so defensive, especially if someone asks for like a discount but you can't get defensive. It is what it is. And it's not personal.
Right.
It's not a personal attack.
They separate you from the business. They think the business is a separate thing. And we, as business owners, internalize everything. And of course, our businesses are so interrelated to what we are and what we do that it's easy to get offended. And, it's okay to just say, no, I don't offer discounts. And then you just move on. And most of the time people are like, okay,
Right. And that's it.
Yeah. And it's better to remain professional. You always have to, the best emails are the ones that aren't sent. You always have to remember that.
Yes.
Write the email,
write it out.
and then you don't send it
yourself. Yes.
Absolutely.
That is so true. Well, thank you so much, Jenn, for being with me today. I'm so glad that everything aligned and we got to record this today. And for all of our listeners, where can they find out more about you, your classes, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Facebook at the High Rollers Club, and also our website, thehighRollersClub.io. And you can find out more about our mastermind class, which is basically my business in a box. All the forms, all the emails, everything, my business from A to Z. And just the emails itself are worth it, because those darn things took me a really long time to write.
Right?
Yeah, but my group on Facebook is very hyper focused on business. And I think it's full of really good resources. And there are some killer business owners in that group that, if I'm not there to answer a question, some of these other people are. And it's just a really great resource. Lots of free advice, good advice, a positive environment. I'm very proud of my little community that we've grown.
It's not so little anymore. It's getting big.
I know it is getting big. We're like creeping up
I
a
love
1,000. So I'm like pretty bummed about that. I know, right? I'm going to need to have a party or something.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to get this out into the world. There's so many great pieces of information. So thank you so much for being
Thanks
here.
for having me.
And we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Sounds good. I'll see you later. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.